Welcome back, football family, to episode 6 of our World Cup 2026 Daily Update. We have a truly extraordinary show lined up for you today. But before we get into the magic on the pitch, I want to send a very special thank you to all our listeners tuning in from Singapore. We are so grateful for your support.
Indeed, Arthur, they picked the absolute perfect day to tune in because we need to talk about what is undeniably the biggest upset of the tournament so far. The script has been completely flipped, and the data models are in absolute shock.
You can say that again, Nora. Let's start right there with Spain versus Cabo Verde. A historic draw on a World Cup debut. The narrative here is just pure football romance. You have Spain, the heavyweights, utterly frustrated by a heroic Cabo Verde side. The atmosphere was incredibly tense, and you just had to admire the sheer willpower of the Blue Sharks holding off that Spanish armada. I love moments like this. It reminds me of the classic giant killings of the 80s and 90s, where heart and defensive grit simply outshine pedigree.
Heart is great, Dad, but let's look at the reality of the pitch. Spain completely dominated the expected goals. The XG and their shots on target per 90 metrics were sky high, but they ran into an absolute brick wall. Lamine Yamal came on as a sub and almost unlocked them with a brilliant Trivela pass, but Pico Lopes intervened. Cabo Verde absorbed all that pressure by maintaining an incredibly disciplined low block. Their interceptions per 90 went through the roof today, and they forced Spain to settle for a frustrating point.
And it wasn't just Spain stumbling. We also saw Belgium and Egypt battle it out in a very gritty 1-1 draw. These are exactly the kind of tense group stage matches where one moment of magic or madness changes the entire complexion of the tournament. We saw a vicious, stunning strike from Imam Ashur to give Egypt the lead. And then, almost instantly, Romelu Lukaku comes off the bench and his sheer presence causes total panic, leading to an Egypt-owned goal just seconds later.
Exactly. Looking at the heat maps, Belgium really struggled to penetrate Egypt's defensive shape before Lukaku's physical presence disrupted the penalty area. Kevin De Bruyne had a late free kick that just missed the mark, but overall, Belgium's big chances created were surprisingly low. It was a real tactical stalemate, and honestly, you have to be critical of Belgium's lack of progressive carries in the midfield. Egypt set a trap, and Belgium walked right into it. Speaking of tactics, let's pivot to our team deep dive for today. I want to put France under the microscope. They are operating with incredible efficiency. Adrien Rabiot recently summed it up perfectly, saying, "We all have a role." You have to be humble with that. It perfectly encapsulates their current system. They aren't just relying on individual brilliance anymore. Their expected goals on target, or XGOT, shows a highly calculated, clinical approach to entering the final third. They stretch the pitch beautifully, relying heavily on transitional speed rather than slow build-up.
It is interesting you highlight that quote about humility, Nora. Historically, French squads have often danced on a knife edge between supreme elegance and internal friction. But Didier Deschamps has built a true fortress around this group. He is actively shielding Kylian Mbappé from the outside noise and scrutiny, letting him just focus on the grass in front of him. When I watch this current French side, I see echoes of their past champions. There is a solid, unyielding spine, a real tactical grit, which ultimately allows their forwards the freedom to paint their masterpiece on the pitch. And thinking about French masterpieces, it naturally brings me to our legend of the game for today. We cannot talk about France without honoring the maestro himself, Zinedine Zidane. There was an aura about him that no modern statistic could ever truly capture. He didn't just run with the football, he glided over the turf. I can still picture the exact texture of the pitch in 1998 and later in 2006, watching him dictate the tempo of a match with a sort of quiet, devastating grace. He was an artist who played the game entirely on his own terms.
I will concede that aura is hard to quantify, Dad. But even through a modern analytical lens, Zidane's numbers were elite. If we look back at his progressive carries and his big chances created, he was a high-volume playmaker who rarely surrendered possession. So your beautiful artist was also a highly efficient tactical engine. It is the ultimate combination of your eye test and my data. But it's time to step off the pitch for a moment. Time for the social media roundup. And the internet is absolutely wild right now. First off, Vozinha, Cabo Verde's goalkeeper, is officially a global viral sensation. He is 40 years old, making a trio of crucial saves against the tournament favorites, and the memes are glorious.
40 years old and keeping Spain at bay on the biggest stage in the world. That right there is the pure magic of the World Cup, Nora. It gives veterans one more glorious summer in the sun.
On a heavier note, the Tunisian FA didn't wait around. Manager Sabri Lamouchi has been fired after their thrashing against Sweden.
The modern game is just ruthless, isn't it? One bad day at the office and your dream is over.
And a bit of wholesome news to balance it out. Jeremy Doku might miss some of the action because he is planning on flying home. His wife is expecting their first child.
That is wonderful. It is a beautiful reminder that some things in life are simply bigger than football, even a World Cup. Looking ahead to today's action, we have a beautiful slate of matches to keep us entertained. Saudi Arabia will be taking on Uruguay, Iran faces New Zealand, and of course, we have that mouth-watering clash between France and Senegal to see if the French can maintain that clinical efficiency you mentioned.
It is a packed schedule, and the tactical matchups in that France-Senegal game are going to be a goldmine for the post-match data analysis. But we have to make our official pick for the watch party tonight.
Well, considering the stakes and the styles of play, I think we have to go with a match that guarantees both flair and history. Let's watch France against Senegal together. It promises to be an absolutely fantastic spectacle.
Agreed.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this incredible journey through the 2026 World Cup. It has been an absolute pleasure sharing these stories with you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep an eye on those XG stats during today's matches, and we will be right back here for episode 7 after the final whistle in France-Senegal.